joining us. If you've dialed into tonight's call and interested in organizing with our Illinois Revolution, please press *3. An operator will take down your info. Our guests tonight include Robert Peters, who's running for state senator, or who is state senator in the 13th district, Jackie Trainier, running for mayor of Bolingbrook, John Laish, running for mayor of Aurora, and Shama St. Louis, running for mayor of Peoria. We'll get started in just a few minutes. If you are interested in becoming a member, there's a link in chat. Please hit that. It's very easy. $5, you get a membership card. We're really excited that we're promoting this and building up the progressive movement throughout Illinois. So please make sure you drop your name in chat and where you're from, any other info that you have. I see we have Abe Matthews here. Hi, Abe. Welcome to our Illinois Revolution call. We also have Clem Balinoff with us tonight. We're so excited. Clem is always with us. So please drop your name and your information in chat, and we'll get started in a few minutes. We have some very great guests tonight. We have Robert Peters, state senator in the 13th district. We have Jackie Trainier running for mayor of Bolingbrook, Illinois. John Laish running for mayor of Aurora, and Shama St. Louis running for mayor of Peoria. And we'll just get started here in just a few minutes. So if you're waiting for us, we just really want to welcome you to our Illinois Revolution statewide organizing meeting. If you could, please post your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. We have some elected officials and candidates from up and down the state of Illinois, our great state, joining us. If you have dialed into tonight's call and you're interested in organizing with our Illinois Revolution, please start *3 and an operator will take down your info. Become a member. There's a link in our chat. Please hit it. Become a member of our revolution. Help us grow the progressive movement in Illinois and throughout our great country. Our guests tonight include Robert Peters, state senator in the 13th district, Jackie Trainier running for mayor of Bolingbrook, John Laish running for mayor of Aurora, and Shama St. Louis running for mayor of Peoria. We'll get started in just a few minutes, so hang in there, folks. We have Deb Lovekamp from Collinsville. We have Darian Brown from Carbondale. Hi, Darian. How are you? You're in my neck of the woods. We have John Laish is on here. Thank you, John. Yes, you're a panelist tonight, and you're here with us, and thank you and welcome so much. We have Mike in Frankfort here, the Will County Progressives. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the call tonight. So happy to see you. We have Bob from our Revolution Northern Illinois. Hi, Bob. Good to see you. We have Mike here. Mike is always working for us really hard. Welcome, everyone, to our Illinois Revolution statewide organizing meeting. If you could, please post your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. We have some elected officials and candidates from up and down the state of Illinois joining us. If you've dialed into tonight's call and you're interested in organizing with our Illinois Revolution, please press *3. An operator will take down your info, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. It looks like we're ready to get started. Are you ready, Clem?
Yes, I am, Georgia. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, virtual Illinois. My name's Clem Balinoff. I'm a board member of our Illinois Revolution, and I'm going to be your host tonight for our Illinois Revolution's organizing call. It's a jam-packed call, so let's get started. We're excited to be gearing up for our 2021 campaigns. 2020 taught us a lot of things. One lesson that I learned as an activist was that we can never let up on our organizing, because when we organize, we win. Our organizing helped elect Joe Biden to win the White House. Our organizing helped Democrats elect progressive champions to Congress and take control of the US Senate with the elections of Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff in Georgia. And our revolution played a very integral role in those campaigns. Now we've got to ramp up our organizing to make sure that we can build on those successes and have a government that truly serves the people. That begins with a COVID stimulus package that includes permanent stimulus for millions of low-wage workers by raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And if it doesn't get in the package, like it's looking more and more that it won't, we're going to have to continue to organize to make sure that $15 an hour becomes the law of the land. I would say it should have happened yesterday, but certainly in the next very short period of time. And an executive order from President Biden that cancels student debt for millions and millions of borrowers. From there, we'll move on to Medicare for All and reunification of families separated at the border and comprehensive criminal justice reform and so much more. It's all possible, but it's up to us to get all this transformational change across the finish line. And as 2020 showed us, when we organize, we win. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment of silence tonight to remember a great union leader and a friend, former Chicago Teachers Union President Karen Lewis, who lost her long-time battle with cancer. Karen was an organizer who understood that when we fight and organize, we win. Karen was a giant in the labor movement. She will be missed. So can we have a moment of silence, please, for Karen? Thank you. Tonight, we'll be talking with folks who are working at the state and local level to bring about progressive change. Our guests are Robert Peters, state senator from the 13th district, Jackie Trainier, running for mayor of Bolingbrook, John Lesh, running for mayor of Aurora, and Shama St. Louis, running for mayor of Peoria, all progressive champions. Before we start, I want to encourage everyone to put questions that they have in the chat. To do that, put them in the chat, and if you're listening on the phone, hit *3 to ask a question or leave a comment, because this is an interactive meeting, and we want to have everybody try to participate, ask questions, make comments. That's how we learn, that's how we get better, and that's how we organize. So without further ado, let's get right into it. It's my pleasure to introduce our Illinois Revolution fundraising chair, Abe Matthews, with an update on the work that our revolution has accomplished over the past election cycle, along with some news about upcoming membership, about our upcoming membership drive. Take it away, Abe.
Thank you, Clem. This month at our Revolution, we're asking our supporters to become sustaining members. For $5 a month or more, you can help fulfill the 4-point plan to win a progressive America in 2021. Point number 1 is to hold President Biden and Congress accountable. During his inaugural address, President Biden said, "It's time for boldness, for there is so much to do." We agree. With Democrats in control of the White House and both houses of Congress, now is the time to push for bold, progressive policies like Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and a $15 an hour minimum wage. Thanks to our movement, we're already seeing results. President Biden has signed several executive orders on our policies, including raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour for federal contract workers and pausing student debt payments during the pandemic. But we're calling on him to do more. And we're holding Congress accountable by calling on Senate and House Democratic leaders to fight for $15 an hour for a $15 minimum wage in the COVID relief package. Your monthly contribution will help keep the pressure on President Biden and our members of Congress to provide desperately needed relief and deliver real change for working people. There's a link in the chat that if you click on it, you can donate $5 or more that'll help us with this mission of pushing for more progressive policies. The second point is elect progressive champions at every level of government, from city councils to Congress. There are hundreds of elections across the country this year. When you become a sustaining member, you'll be helping our revolution to support and elect progressive champions like Nina Turner in Ohio, Jackie Trainier here, John Lesh, and Shama St. Louis here in Illinois. And again, that link is in the chat if you'd like to chip in a few bucks. Number 3 is fighting for progressive policies. From organizing to pass statewide single-payer bills to fighting fracking, our members are working hard to enact progressive policies in cities and states. Last year, we won nearly 81% of our state and local ballot initiatives, like Fight for 15, and paid family leave. And there are more issue fights to come in 2021. By joining our revolution, you'll help ensure that we can keep the fight up for progressive policies like criminal justice reform, addressing the climate crisis, and so much more. And so again, that link is in the chat. And if you would, just click and become a sustaining member. And number 4, and not least, is build a progressive party. Our revolution has a unique mission of building a movement for change outside in the streets, electing progressives to fight on issues inside the halls of power, and working inside the Democratic Party to make it more progressive. Your monthly gift will support our goal of electing progressives to party leadership positions, from precinct committeemen to members, from precinct committee members to DNC chairs in 2021. Our revolution doesn't take corporate money. We are entirely people powered and rely on supporters like you. When you become an official member, you invest in building our grassroots groups and preparing us for the fights and victories to come. So again, you can sign up for as little as $5 a month at that link in the chat. And for those calling in, the membership link is rrev.us/2020 member. And again, you can click on that link or go to that website. And it's my pleasure to kick it back to our wonderful host, Clem Balinoff. Clem, you're on mute.
How's that? Is that better? All right. As Abe said, please use the link in the chat to sign up and become a member tonight. Okay, if you have any questions also before we get going, please put them in the chat for Jackie, for John Lesh, Shama, Rob Peters, any one of them. So our first guest tonight is Jackie Trainier, who's running for mayor of Bolingbrook. We at Our Revolution, as we did 4 years ago, are endorsing Jackie. For those who don't know her, she's a Will County board member, realtor, former union organizer with the American Federation of Government Employees, AFG, or AFG. That's how you know I'm not a member, because people in that union pronounce it AFG. I always pronounce it FG. But anyway, and 4 years ago, she lost a race for mayor of Bolingbrook by a little over 100 votes to a 33-year incumbent, and a real close Trump ally. This time, Roger Clare decided that rather than face Jackie again, he'd retire. But Jackie is running against one of Clare's pawns, and she's going to be the next mayor of Bolingbrook. And I'm really proud that Our Revolution endorsed her then 4 years ago, and we're doing it again. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, Clem. Really excited to be here. Love to see all these happy faces. I have a question. Matt Michowski, send me a message with your phone number.
Okay. See, Jackie's always recruiting people. That's one thing, So, Jackie, tell us a little bit about you and the city and your campaign real quickly.
Sure. Thanks, Clem. I'm a 50-plus year resident of Bolingbrook. My family moved here when I was 9 years old. So I was raised here. And then I raised my family here. And now more recently, my son, Terry, who's a candidate for Wheatland Township trustee, purchased a home here and is raising my grandson, Roman, here. So I am clearly very invested in this community. I ran for mayor 4 years ago because there was a large group of Bolingbrook residents that were upset. Not just because Trump had a fundraiser here with our mayor, but they were just upset with the future of Bolingbrook and how people were being left behind. And that fundraiser with Donald Trump gave us the opportunity that we needed to kind of springboard our campaign. We don't have that springboard this time. It's a much more difficult climb, but we're still very much committed to transparency and a better deal for Bolingbrook and inclusion. Those are extremely important issues to us.
Yeah. So one of the things I understand is that in Bolingbrook, water rates, I understand they're the highest or among the highest water rates in the entire state of Illinois. How'd this happen? And also kind of tell us a little bit about something else in the same kind of, with the same question. Can you talk about Joliet? Even though it's not Bolingbrook, and a little bit about they're in the process of changing suppliers and what your suggestions for them would be, because we have lots of people on the phone from Will County.
Absolutely. And I got to say, Joliet is on the right path. So when they realized they had a water issue, and that is directly due to the environment, their aquifer is drying up. They reached out to form a board of public citizens to make a decision about what the future was going to be for Joliet. And they literally got 3 different avenues and a 4th one that came on very late in the process. And so they were able to use basically their leverage between the 3 different organizations to come up with a good plan for the future. Bolingbrook didn't do that. Bolingbrook had its own water company, and the mayor, and I call him the dictator or the godfather, decided that he would sell our water company to a private organization called Illinois American Water, and that he would ask Illinois American Water to build us a pipeline from Lake Michigan to Bolingbrook. That wasn't a good solution for us, because that took away our power, our autonomy, our voice in the process. And that is never a good thing for a local unit of government. And if you've never read the book, 13 Ways to Kill a Community, well, this is one of the 13 ways. And it's a great book, by the way. If you're thinking about running for office or worried about what's going on in your local community, I would really recommend it. But this was one of the issues. He went right to Illinois American Water, sold them our water processing process, collected big campaign contributions to make sure that he stayed the mayor for 34 years. And as those contributions began to dry up, he realized that maybe he ought to think about something else, mostly because the residents were complaining. I talked to one of my neighbors yesterday. It's a family of 3 adults in a household. They saw a $40 increase in their water bill for January. To think that 3 people are paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $140 a month for water? I know there are people on this call from all over the state. Nobody, I'm sure, is paying $140 a month for water. This is what is wrong when we sell our utilities that should be governed and managed by our local municipal governments to a private for-profit company. And this has been a huge kick in the teeth to people here in the village of Bolingbrook.
You know, I want to, Jackie, I have to tell you, it's interesting because I always tell people, put your questions in the chat. We're getting comments more than questions. One of them was talking about how you helped pass a county board resolution supporting Medicare for all and traveled to Springfield to push a healthcare bill for Illinois in the General Assembly. John Lesh, who you know is running, we'll be hearing from him in a minute. He said the Will County Board was looking at moving 100% of their energy supply to renewable energy for Will County buildings. Jackie was one of the few Democrats fighting for 100% renewable power. I mean, just all around a great person, everybody. And in the chat there somewhere, there's a link to her campaign and to be able to make a donation. We hope some people do that tonight. So are there any other questions? There's no questions here. I don't know if we have any more. So, okay, well, everybody, I really would hope that you will get involved in this campaign, in Jackie's campaign. Many of you did 4 years ago. I walked precincts for Jackie 4 years ago, and I don't know if I'm gonna be walking precincts now, Jackie, but I'll make calls or certainly donate some money, and we want to help you out. You know, Jackie also has some very important endorsements for our revolution people. Congressman Chuy Garcia is endorsing Jackie's campaign, Congressman Marie Newman, Congressman Bill Foster, you know, all the area people there are supporting her. Good Bernie person, good progressive, and we know she's going to be the next mayor of Bolingbrook. So thank you so much, Jackie, for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Clem. I really appreciate it. And please, please, if you have $5, you know, a couple of bucks in your pocket and you can afford to donate them, I don't want anybody doing anything that's going to jeopardize their own personal health and future. But if you have a few dollars and you can donate, JackieForMayor.com, there's a donate button there. I would really appreciate it. We need to fund our mail program because during COVID-19, mail is really our best avenue. Thank you, Clem.
Okay, very good. I think there's one question. Hold on. Somebody said there's a question I didn't see. Let me back up here. Well, I don't see it, so we'll move on. Jackie, thank you again for coming on. Okay, our next guest tonight is with us. Also, probably doesn't need a whole lot of introduction because most of us know him, or many of us know him, John Lesh. He's running for mayor of Aurora. John is no stranger to any of us, really. He's a former school board member, was on the Democratic Platform Committee in this 2020, was a Bernie delegate in 2016, was on Bernie's campaign staff in 2016, is a veteran intelligence analyst, and is a union carpenter. Before we go on, I want to announce that our revolution, our Illinois Revolution, is endorsing John Lesh for mayor of Illinois, the second largest city in Illinois, Aurora. Welcome, John. Do we have John? I think we have to unmute John, somebody.
I good. Thanks, Clem.
All right. John, it's good to see you, certainly always. So one of the key planks in the Our Revolution platform is the Green New Deal. And my understanding is that your campaign, you have suggested a new Green Deal for Aurora to create clean jobs. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So I'm here in a historic 116-year-old house that I've made 80% more energy efficient and will one day have it off the grid. This is something that can be done. I'm a green builder, union carpenter, and I've worked and built another home almost entirely off the grid here in Aurora. So we're ready now to make Aurora a Green New Deal city. And we also have, on the other side of the coin, 12% poverty rate, which is a lot of people, a lot of low income, a lot of minority communities that are facing tremendous economic struggle as essential workers who are trying to survive during the pandemic. And we have an opportunity to put those people to work, good paying jobs, installing solar panels, making houses more energy efficient. And all it takes is a refocusing of city finances, creating a Department of Sustainability, and then capturing a lot of the existing state utility and hopefully under a Biden administration, federal incentives to make people's houses more energy efficient or take them off the grid. But it's going to take somebody who's focused on this. I've talked to the current mayor about it. He just doesn't grasp it. I've talked to the previous mayor about it. So this is something that I feel strongly that I'm uniquely capable of driving. And I think as we try and sell the Green New Deal at the national level, this is very important to have a model city that people can point to and say, look, the world didn't come to an end. In fact, they all saved a lot of money on their heating and cooling bills. And, as we start talking about things like climate migration, I believe Illinois is going to be a destination place and Aurora a welcoming city.
Yeah, well, John is somebody I know you, John, as a great organizer and somebody that can probably get something like that done. I remember a few years back, you were one of the leaders in the fight to stop the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, and help make it real visible at the Democratic Convention. So another question I wanted to ask you about was the incumbent mayor. He's raising a lot of money from those who do business with and want contracts and favors from the city of Aurora. Seems like a great place for campaign finance reform. Your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so this is a place where I think every level of government, there's room for improvement. And perhaps the future mayor of Peoria and the future mayor of Bolingbrook can relate. But when city contracts are doled out, it's very often that there's a contribution that goes into the mayor's pocket, his campaign war chest on the other end. And it makes it very hard for anybody to challenge those people. So it takes a grassroots candidate to do it. In the same way that Bernie Sanders is rejecting corporate PAC money, we're rejecting corporate PAC money and any money coming from people who do business with City Hall. We're only taking small dollar donations. I've been on the phone every day. I spend about 3 hours generally talking to Bernie Sanders supporters around the country. A lot of people are very enthusiastic and chipping in. I don't know our total donor number as of this moment, but our fundraising goal is $50,000 by April, and we're already over 45,000. So I think we're going to hit it and have the resources necessary to win this campaign. That being said, we will have money for some mailers and some social media ads, but a lot of it is still on the ground. I actually tested positive for COVID today, so that's going to be hampered for the next 2 weeks. I've had it. This is my second run at it, so I'm sure I'll survive. But our ground game hopefully will reignite the moment it gets a lot warmer.
All right. Well, we're certainly sorry to hear that you have COVID. You're the kind of person we want out on the campaign trail, but you can be on the phones and talking to people. If anybody has a question for John, please put it in the chat. Jackie's still here, and I have a question for Jackie after we get done talking with you. So Jackie, if you stick around for another 5 minutes, that'd be great. Yesterday, when we were talking, you told me that you had received the endorsement of the People's Coalition, one of the most coveted endorsements in Aurora. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why it's so important?
Well, so it's good because we are the People's Coalition grew out of the Black Lives Matter movement. And when I first started, campaigning and helping organize rallies here in Aurora, we had that night where there was some, I'm trying to use the word riot, I guess is the right word, in downtown Aurora. Windows were broken. But then I went over to Joliet the next day because over there, the mayor of Joliet literally grabbed some black kids and threw them into a pile of cops, and they got beat up. So really, we definitely all need to be focused on getting a new mayor in Joliet in 2 years from now. But I didn't realize Aurora had such a police brutality problem until I started running and people started writing us on Facebook. So the People's Coalition is a group that advocates for policing reforms, strong citizen oversight and citizen review board, independent of the mayor, independent of the police chief, investigative powers to take any instances of police brutality, racial profiling, and investigate those matters and hold police officers accountable. So this is something that I started campaigning on. The mayor listened all summer long. Current mayor listened all summer long. He is an African-American gentleman. He is a Republican. He's pushing a gentrification redevelopment plan downtown and corporate bailout after corporate bailout. But I think for me to receive the People's Coalition endorsement is significant. We have a lot of supporters from heavily minority communities, people that have faced police brutality, and it was one of the most rigorous questionnaires and endorsement processes with multiple interviews that I've ever been through. But I feel like it'll be a strong partnership, and I feel like they have somebody they can truly trust to advocate for changing the culture in the Aurora Police Department.
Questions, everybody, in the chat. Please put your questions in the chat. We also have in the chat the information on John's campaign and where you can make a contribution. So I hope everybody will join in and doing something for his campaign. And if you can make a few dollars, give a few dollars, that's great. If you can't, that's okay too. But get on the phones, maybe do some texting. I don't know, whatever else they have. But if you sign up, I guarantee you that John's going to make sure that you're called. That's for sure. So put your questions in the chat. We had a comment, John, and that was that you've been, he remembers you from a long time ago in supporting Dennis Kucinich in fighting for Medicare for all. That's been quite a few years ago. John is a true, when you want people that have been there, because you know their track record, you know where they're going to go because you know where they've been. And John is one of those people. So I guess there are no more questions here. Doesn't seem like it. So let me go back to Jackie real quick. Jackie, are you still here?
I'm still here.
Okay. One of the things that real quick, and thank you, John. And if you stick around, if questions come in here, I'll grab you too. At any rate, one of the things that we do believe in is continuing to organize and build. And that's one of the things I think that in Georgia, a lesson that we learned was from Stacey Abrams after the election, after she whether she won or not, when she lost the election for governor, she continued to build. And yourself, since your last election, you've continued to build a progressive infrastructure in Bolingbrook. Tell us a little bit about that too, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Clem. That's interesting. Yes, I retired from a long time career as a union organizer and then began the process of selling off the small business that I owned so that I could really spend more time being involved in the community. So I stepped up to run for the Democratic Party chairmanship of the DuPage Township, which includes Bolingbrook, Naperville, Romeoville, and one precinct in Plainfield. And stepped up to really kind of grow the party. Because when I ran in 2017, there wasn't a single Democrat on the ballot. I mean, we had 8 township positions open and there wasn't a single Democrat slated for any of those. The local Democratic Party didn't even host a caucus, for those of you that are familiar with the process in the Democratic Party. And I just found that unconscionable. We need to have somebody to vote for in order to get voters out to vote. The difference this time around, all three townships that have a part of Bolingbrook, they all have a slate of candidates. Our DuPage Township, which is the majority of Bolingbrook, 3 precincts that are in Wheatland Township, they have a slate of candidates, including my own son, who's an Our Revolution member and a board member of the Joliet-Will County Our Revolution, Terry Jones. So, and the Lisle Township, where we have 3 precincts. It is important to always give voters a choice. We absolutely have to have names on the ballot. We need to be reaching out and growing our organization in order to get our message out there, because I think that's why a lot of people turned to Donald Trump. They didn't feel like the typical democratic process was listening to them. And so they thought, well, they'll just try something totally out of the box. We have to give voters a choice. We need to let people know what we stand for and give them that choice.
All right. Well, okay. Well, thank you very, very much. Jackie, good luck. I know you're going to be the next mayor of Bolingbrook. And John, I know you're going to be joining her as the mayor of a neighboring city, Aurora. Thank you so much. So now, before we go on to our next guest, we're going to have time for a brief commercial. Abe.
Thank you, Clem. And that was so great to hear, Jackie. And in order to keep electing progressive champions like Jackie, who will fight for progressive policies like canceling student debt, fighting fracking, and guaranteeing workers a living wage, please become a movement builder for as little as $5 a month. Sign up at the link in the chat. And for listeners calling in, the link is rrev.us/2021 member. And again, that link is in the chat. Please chip in, and thank you. And I'll kick it back to you, Clem.
All right. Before I introduce our next guest, I want to tell everyone, put your questions in the chat. Okay? Put your questions in the chat, please. Our next guest is a progressive champion, an Illinois state senator from the district once held by President Barack Obama and Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Rob Peters has only been a state senator for a short period of time, a couple of years, but is already making his mark. A longtime Bernie supporter and a 2020 delegate for Bernie. Welcome, Rob. How are you tonight?
Hey, Clem. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I see you have your trademark sweater on. Rob always has it's like interesting. The picture that we have on the slide here has him in a suit and kind of talking in the legislature there in the state Senate. And but whenever you see him, this is what he looks like. He has kind of a collar coming out of the shirt there. I've known Rob for I've probably known Rob for about 25 years, right? 25 years, something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be 25 to 28, somewhere between there.
Yeah, a really long time. At any rate, welcome, Rob. So let's jump right into things here. The Black Caucus is probably more powerful now than it has been in any time that I can remember. And you and the caucus were leaders in the fight for criminal justice reform in Illinois. Can you explain a little bit about what's in the bill and why it's so important? And then we're going to talk about what's not in the bill and you think should have been, and how we're going to get there.
Yeah. So a few things. The first one is the criminal justice bill was years of work, culmination of a lot of organizing, policies that have been introduced that we haven't been able to move. And, one of the key components of it is we ended cash bond in Illinois, making us the first state in the country. And the key part about this is the argument to be made that the way we've been doing public safety for the last 40 years hasn't worked, and that we need to actually think about real public safety for folks. So we abolished cash bond, so wealth-based detention. So now instead of money determining whether you're free or not, it's about your safety. It's about the public safety, and that's the main focus. We amended what's called felony murder, and that is a situation in Lake County called the Lake County Five, where people were being charged with murder, but they actually had nothing to do with the murder. It was a guilt by association law. So what we said is get rid of guilt by association. That doesn't do anything for anybody's safety. That's just a way to stack on charges. The other one is use of force standards, so that the police have an actual standard in terms of whether they should be using use of force. So, for instance, tasering someone in their back and in their kidney is not a good use of force. They can't do that. They're not allowed to practice that anymore. Police decertification, so that if there's police misconduct, they can be decertified. But again, the biggest one, the one that I've been organizing around for 5 years, is ending wealth-based detention, and that's gotten a lot of attention in the state. And so I'll just briefly say it's a historic piece of legislation. It's one of the few times you'll ever hear about domestic violence and sexual assault survivor advocates supporting a piece of legislation. And the Illinois Coalition on Domestic Violence said, this is criminal justice reform that puts survivor safety first. So it's a historic piece of legislation. It's a model for the rest of the country. And hopefully it sets the tone for other states to do what we've done here in Illinois. And let me finish.
Mhm.
We can be proud in Illinois, which is something we rarely get to say about our state. We have something to be proud of compared to the rest of the country. So,
All right. So is the governor going to sign it?
we've had conversations with the governor and his staff, and we're going to get this bill signed. And we just need to figure out when we're going to do that. But I believe we're going to get it signed.
Great. So tell us about what wasn't in the bill that you think should have been. One of the things that many of us on this call are concerned about is ending qualified immunity for police officers. Tell us about what wasn't in the bill. What do we still have to continue to fight for as it relates to criminal justice reform?
So you're spot on. Yes, qualified immunity was not able to make it into the bill. We had it there. We just weren't able to get the votes. And what we did is we decided to put a task force together to look in qualified immunity. That is the best way to put this is, because we had a task force on ending cash bond years ago. It was implemented years ago, and there were working groups on cash bond. It is an organizing mechanism for us to keep pushing so that we can end qualified immunity, and that is a key one. That one, and another one that I think is it's complicated to explain, but to reform truth in sentencing laws. If anybody knows what truth in sentencing is, it's an old 1990s tough on crime policy. And, the idea is that if you do the crime, you serve the time, except that completely removes any rehabilitation within any form of correction or any form at all. And you're stuck in there. And so you have a lot of people who are in programming, they're getting their education. So if you've ever I've visited Stateville about 4 times now. If you've ever visited the education program and the learning that they do, they don't get to actually get enough earned credit to be able to come back into the world. So hopefully we have truth in sentencing reform. Hopefully we end qualified immunity. And those are things for us to continue to organize on. And lastly, we got to defend the bill, because they're going to try to undermine the bill. And so we have to play a little defense. And then with these other parts of the bill that we want to see change happen on, we use that as an offense.
All right. Well, you'll keep us informed about what you want us to do to be part of that. Everybody, questions in the chat. Please, everybody in the chat. We have one question here in the chat. It says, that is very important, is that it requires the police. No, I think that's just more of a comment. Did the final bill require police to actually have a reason for arresting before someone can resist arrest? I think that's, does he have a reason for, okay, I'm sorry, I don't, you can tell me what the question means. I don't quite get it. But I think, is there a definition of what it takes to be charged with resisting arrest in the bill?
No, this is a complicated thing. So the idea is that you can't stack on a felony on somebody. They might get like a misdemeanor. So the idea is citation versus arrest. So try not to get too legalese. In some instances, you have people on an individual charge, they might get a citation instead of an arrest. But to give you an idea, law enforcement's been screaming about this, but it's not how law enforcement practices it. So law enforcement's like, well, what if someone is trespassing and they're stalking somebody? Well, trespassing might be a citation. Stalking is detaining somebody. So you're going to have multiple reasons to arrest somebody if you feel like they're a threat to someone's safety. You don't need to worry about that. It's the idea of just not having to waste unnecessary charge on somebody in issuing citations.
All right. Everybody, questions in the chat. Now, another question, the state budget. And I guess that we're going to be hearing from Governor Pritzker pretty soon. And after losing the fair tax, which all of us supported in COVID, the state really is in financial trouble, I think. Today, came word that Governor Pritzker will propose a budget that does not raise the state income tax or cut programs. Where's the additional funding for schools and other important programs going to come from? What are the challenges ahead?
Yeah, so let me first say, before I get to the other part, I think it's rather historic that we have the governor planning to close corporate tax loopholes.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, I know I'm a state senator now, I'm an organizer, and Clem, you know that. And for a lot of folks who know me know that I've been organizing, closing corporate tax loopholes, my first act of civil disobedience. The best way for me to talk about this was in 2016, protesting the Rauner budget impasse, and part of the demands was to close corporate tax loopholes. So I would say the idea here is closing corporate tax loopholes are big. It's to push to see if we can get more corporate tax loopholes closed. We talked to the governor's people, to his budget team. They did not give us details on what corporate tax loopholes that would be. We want to protect line items as much as possible while, protect as much as possible and tax the rich as, to get that revenue. And so once we learn what the governor is going to do on these corporate tax loopholes, we might have more demands on even further loopholes. So like decoupling, you might have heard in the news, there's multiple ways of doing decoupling to get that money. And let's figure out what he's about to propose in terms of decoupling beyond the one that he proposed, say, earlier this month.
Well, Rob, I remember myself when I was a legislator in 1989. I just got there. And I was the only legislator in Illinois that spoke out against giving Sears $61 million to move from Chicago to Hoffman Estates because it was welfare for the very wealthy. Absolutely outrageous. These corporate loopholes have got to be closed. There's no doubt about it. And I agree that's the way to go. We have a couple questions here for Rob in the chat. Maybe it's Senator Peters. I'm sorry. Rob Peters.
Call me Rob, Clem. What are you talking about?
I said, I guess that's what I have to call it. That's how I know you. Can you speak for a little bit about lifting the ban on rent control? The HUD employees I represent in FD want to make housing more affordable.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. We need, yes, to lift the ban on rent control, but we also need to build more quote unquote social housing. This is part of the Housing for All campaign that's happening nationally. We need, Deli Ramirez is working on a rent and mortgage sort of relief program and package. So we need one specifically around the pandemic. So the best way to put this is there's multiple ways we have to go at housing, and that is to build more housing, but to actually have it for the public, to regulate rents so that they don't become, it's not a speculative bubble, which is what I feel like is happening. And then the last bit, we have to deal with the pandemic so that people can stay in their homes and they're not at the risk of being evicted or foreclosed on, even if it's a shadow eviction or a shadow foreclosure. So the idea is coming at this, sort of crisis that's existed for quite some time, the post-housing bubble crisis in terms of renting, is dealing it with the long-term structural in terms of social housing, the immediate structural issues in terms of high rent, and then the immediate crisis in terms of a public health when it comes to eviction moratoriums and rent and mortgage relief.
Yeah, well, okay, Rob, I want to thank you so much. It's always a pleasure seeing you virtually as it has to be right now. I want to get a commitment out of you that we can have you back after the legislative session to give us a clear wrap up like you've given us tonight. We really appreciate you. A real progressive champion, Senator Robert Peters. So thank you again. Okay, our next guest is somebody I don't know. She is a candidate for mayor of Peoria, Shama St. Louis. Hello, Shama. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Shama St. Louis. I am a resident of Peoria, Illinois. I moved here with my mom 25 years ago. She was searching for um, a new life away from a troubled past. And so we ended up here in Peoria. For the last 17 years, I've dedicated my entire adult life to working for my community, trying to get us the resources we deserve and need, and just trying to empower the residents here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Um, Very good. Ken, something that I learned about tonight, which I didn't know about from one of our board members, was that as mayor, you want to build back Peoria. We all know that, Caterpillar moving out of Peoria certainly really devastated the area. A lot of times cities exist because of universities in a town or a specific industry who are major employers. And with Caterpillar moving their headquarters from the city, that certainly has put a real economic damper on the city of Peoria. And you have a plan to build back Peoria better. And that is, can you tell us a little bit about the idea of allowing accessory commercial units? And what does that mean to bring back jobs? Shama.
Yes, yes. So I really feel that we should be focusing on core services and growing our local businesses. So any funds from outside developers or companies should be redirected to start and develop local startup and scalable businesses. So one of the ways to do that is to remove barriers and red tape for startups and scalable businesses. And an example of that would be to allow some flexibility in zoning and allow residents to apply for an ACU, which is also known as an accessory commercial unit.
Mhm.
So, an accessory commercial unit basically asks us to rethink what needs to be regulated and how we can allow and what we can allow to organically grow in our collective garden. ACUs are an opportunity to add diversity to our urban ecosystem that for too long has remained a monoculture. We're talking about low impact, small scale, hyper local, homeowner driven passion projects that will strengthen the local social and economic fabric of our neighborhoods. So, here in Peoria, especially because of COVID and the devastation that it's had to a lot of our low income residents, but also to a lot of our small and scalable businesses, we need to focus on building our local economy. And we cannot do that by just thinking about attracting new businesses here. We have to really think about the folks who are already here, who are struggling, and get creative and innovative with ways to make it easier for them to be successful. And ACUs is one of the ways we can do that.
I have to read you a couple of comments from the chat. One of them is actually from John Lesh. He said, I recently called the Progressive Union Carpenter who I work with. He lives in Peoria, and I asked him for a donation. He said that he couldn't because he was supporting Shama. Glad to finally meet you. His name is Jeff Rebholz.
Yes, I absolutely love Jeff. He's going to be so excited to see that he's mentioned on here. Yeah, he is definitely a major supporter of mine. I'm so sorry about that.
There we go. Hey, and another one of our board members said, I've been getting to know Shama since last year and am blown away by all she's already done in Peoria. She's a progressive's progressive. Coming from Bob, that's really is a powerful statement. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Put questions in the chat. Now, also, we put in there in the chat the link to the campaign and where to give some money. So tell us about a couple of other issues. What other issues are important to people in Peoria?
Yeah, I have been looking into this monthly stimulus pilot program or experiment and really excited about it. I know there's a mayor's coalition called Mayors for Guaranteed Income, and they've been slowly implementing these experiments in their cities. And I really want to bring something like that to Peoria. I think it's high time for us to be innovative and a trailblazer for the right reasons. You know, we've gotten lots of black eyes with being labeled as the worst place for Blacks to live, and having 1 in 4 of our residents here living at or below the poverty level, and then having the most segregated schools in the country. So I think, you know, being one of the few cities to implement something like a monthly stimulus experiment program would be wonderful at no expense to the taxpayers. So that's something else that I'm looking to do here in Peoria, as well as reimagine public safety as access to resources and opportunities, not more policing and arrests. So
There we go. All right. Well, it really is a pleasure to announce that our Illinois Revolution is endorsing you for Mayor of Peoria. And we really thank you for coming on tonight. And we really do look forward to having a progressive mayor's caucus in Illinois, led by yourself.
yes, yes,
Jack
that would be
John Lesh.
wonderful.
All right, everybody. From there, I'll hand it over to Abe. Abe, I think. Another
Thank
commercial?
you.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Clem. And that was so amazing to hear, Shama. You know, in order to make that that progressive mayor's caucus a reality and to keep electing champions who will fight for progressive policies like canceling student debt, fighting for fracking, passing the Green New Deal, and making sure that there's a living wage as the minimum wage, we need to keep supporting this movement. And so tonight you can become a movement builder for as little as $5 a month. You can sign up at the link in the chat. And for listeners calling in, the link is it's rrev.us/2021 member. And so again, that link is in the chat. Chip in $5 or more, and we're happy for any support you can give. And thank you. And back to you, Clem.
All right. Well, everybody, as Abe asked, become a member tonight. Sign up tonight. It's important. So thank you. We've got some important elections coming up in February and April. We want to hear from some of our organizers now from across the state. Matt Machowski from Our Revolution, Lake County. Take it away. Is Matt on?
Hey, yes. So my name's Matt. I'm up here in Waukegan. You can see the Waukegan Lighthouse behind. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the exciting things we're doing up here in Lake County. We're supporting Vance Wyatt, who is an Our Revolution member. He's on the chair of Lake County Black Lives Matter and a Foss Park board member. And he's running for treasurer in North Chicago. And this is a very important position because it's a position that can help protect public employee pensions. It's a position that can invest the city's money in green economic development, Green New Deal, and divesting from fossil fuels. So Vance is, really campaigning hard. He's well on his way of knocking on, pretty much every voter in his district. And Vance would be the third candidate that we've endorsed here at Our Revolution in Lake County, including Sheriff John Eidelberg and State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt, both of whom won and are now vocal supporters of ending cash bond and the criminal justice reform bill that Robert Peters was just speaking about. So Vance will make us 3 for 3 up in Lake County, and we'll be working to keep on organizing, building up our base of support, and electing other local candidates here in Lake County. And I just want to say I know Robert, Jackie, and John from previous campaigns. Great to be on a call with y'all, and it's so nice to meet Shama. And thank you for a chance to speak.
All right. Next up we're going to hear from, I've got to get down here. Next up, we're going to hear from Georgia. Talk to us about downstate. Georgia?
Sorry about that. I think I was muted. Thank you, Matt, for that. Thank you, Clem. Yeah, in downstate, we've been very busy organizing with candidates like the great Shama here, working from Peoria to Springfield, building up our revolution chapters all the way down to Cairo. It's really exciting. If you want to be involved in our revolution, check out the downstate page or contact our Illinois Revolution. We'll put you in touch with a chapter near you where you can come involved. Right now, we're working on a lot of different issues right now, from especially focusing on, East St. Louis and Peoria, Decatur, Champaign-Urbana, on a lot of environmental issues. We've been working with Lake County, our revolution, joined coalitions in Earth Care, and working really hard on the Green New Deal because, we're all facing it, and we're devastated down here downstate. So it's really important to us here as we keep building the movement. We're like Jackie, working in these red areas. It takes a while, but we're doing it. It's really great to see progressive candidates like Shama and other candidates we have stepping up to the plate to run, to make a difference down here. So thank you very much. Next up is Allison in Lake County. Hi, Allison.
Did you say Allison?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I'm in Kane County. I'm sorry, I was confused for
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the script.
a second. But it's okay. Aurora actually makes a significant makes up a significant portion of Kane County. So one of the things we've been focused on, a lot of members in our group have been focused on, is going out and canvassing and making phone calls in various duties for John Lash's campaign. We do have some races that people are helping with in the Elgin end of the county. We have some community college board races that were endorsed by the union board, and they're running against a couple Republicans. And we have a couple other races in Elgin. I apologize, lost my train of thought. And then tomorrow, on February 10th, Wednesday, we have our monthly meeting that we have every month. We're going to have some candidates from Elgin, actually. So looking forward to that. Not much else going on in Kane County.
All right, can you give us one quick thing about Marianne Cummings, who's running for?
Oh, yeah. Marianne's running for the Fox Valley Park District as a commissioner.
And
she was the only one that collected signatures to get on the.
Good. All right. Next up is, let's see here. I have to go back again.
I think I'm next, Clem. The Will County Progressives, we have endorsed a slate of candidates in Joliet for things like city council, township board, and school board. And this slate of candidates has also received a national endorsement. So we will be phone banking for those candidates every Saturday afternoon from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. And we also have our next virtual meeting coming up on Friday, February 26th at 7 p.m., which hopefully will feature some of our endorsed candidates and some exclusive updates on all the progressive issues going on around Will County. And I think Jose is next up in Cook County.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Jose Torres from Our Revolution, Chicago County, where the fight for dibs is real. Those of you who live in Chicago know about that, people putting out their chairs and their tables, protecting the freshly paved sidewalk. And so we're excited to be here today. We do have, even though Chicago itself does not have an election this season, we are involved from the tip of Evanston all the way down to the bottom of Palos Township, where we have a bunch of progressive candidates who are running for very, very important positions. And a lot of them are running against incumbents who currently have resided with the Trump administration, and we know we need those individuals to be out. And so the fight for our democratic movement is alive, and the fight for our revolution is alive in Cook County. So our next meeting will be on February 23rd, where we're going to be hearing about some exciting things happening in several districts, what's going on in the state and the city and the federal, and hopefully we'll have a brief report on what's happening with what happened with the current trial happening in the Senate. So keep us booked for the February 23rd, and we'll see you.
All right. Peter? Is Peter Jenko on? Where's our state central committeeman?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, my name is Pete Janko. Our group is Medicare for All Northern Illinois. We cover McHenry County and DeKalb County. And our latest action is a thing we call Be My Medicare for All Valentine. And what that's all about is recently Joe Biden decided to open up the exchange for ACA. And so we looked into how's he doing that. And it falls under Section 1881A of the Social Security Act. Well, interestingly enough, is if he can open up ACA, he can also open up regular Medicare to anybody that needs it. Okay, so we're doing a push to kind of make that happen. So we started essentially a letter writing campaign to actually put all the focus on Joe Biden, get him on board for Medicare for all. We know that's a very heavy lift, but he is the roadblock. And
Why don't we go to Peter Jenko? I'm sorry, to Bob Babcock.
Yes.
I think we've lost Peter there.
Yeah, Peter has he's got an unreliable.
So anyway, I was almost done. And so anyway, what I'm thinking is we need to do a major push, and we're going to do a letter writing action around every holiday, because what it does is it concentrates the letters, and it will create a backup in the White House mailroom, and that will get the attention that we need. And I'm done with our part. So if you want to join in the effort, look us up, Medicare for All Northern Illinois Facebook group and page.
Yeah, let me just say, and thank you, Clem, for introducing me. Let me just kind of piggyback on what Peter is talking about. It's Medicare for All, be my Medicare for All Valentine, and we want cards and letters to be sent to Joe Biden. You'll see all sorts of references to it on the our Illinois Revolution page, our Revolution Northern Illinois, Medicare for All Northern Illinois. But here's the thing. There are all sorts of ways to appeal to legislators to make change. But one thing is much more effective than telephone calls, and that is snail mail. It takes more effort to send something via snail mail, and the effort hopefully is to kind of clog up the system with so many pieces of mail that it'll force Biden to be a lot more progressive with Medicare for All. And I do think that he has the ability to make the transition to it. But I want to talk about our Revolution Northern Illinois. You know, like many of you, probably all of you on this call, Bernie's Green New Deal is important to me as we fight for our planet and our lives. In this vein, our Revolution Northern Illinois on Saturday, March 6th at 2 p.m. will have a panel on an exciting little-known strategy to stop corporate polluters. There's a link in the chat to sign up for this March 6th meeting. We know what we've been up against. The donor class funds election campaigns to get the people elected, and set the laws in their favor. They populate and kneecap essential regulatory government entities like the EPA. How many years have we fought against the Keystone XL pipeline and the DAPL pipeline? I remember 17 votes held that opposed the building of twin nukes in Seabrook, New Hampshire in the early 70s, but they started building them anyway, regardless of democracy. Fortunately, they scrapped one, but only after so many of us got maced, arrested, and so on. This March 6th panel will be populated, but with people like Ben Price of the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, and discussing community rights and rights of nature, concepts that may be foreign to you. The panelists will be exploring and explaining these strategies that have been successful in communities around the country, bringing democracy back to the people and overturning laws that protect the corporations against our best interest. So we'll be posting the invitation on Facebook on the our Illinois Revolution page and our Revolution Northern Illinois page. There'll be a following session after that, another session with a special viewing of Invisible Hand, produced by award-winning actor Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo? Ruffalo, yes, about a town in Pennsylvania that fought back. It seems to be a successful strategy. And like I say, there's a link in the chat to sign up for the March 6th meeting. Please do. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. And hopefully we can organize and use this strategy here in Illinois as we try to stop future pipelines and so on. Appealing to Biden at this point is going to be very important. Tomorrow, I understand that he is going to be deciding on the DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline, whether or not he's going to uphold a judge's decision to stop it from crossing the Mississippi on the border, I believe, of North Dakota. So you might want to see about looking that up and having your voices heard in that. But thank you for the opportunity to talk about what's happening, and please join us on March 6th.
Thank you, Bob, so much. Next, let us tell you about some upcoming meetings for our Revolution chapters. We would like you all to be a part of. This Thursday, February 11th, we have 11th hour, our Revolution candidate training at 7 p.m. on how to get out the vote. The link's in the chat. Next Tuesday, February 16th at 7 p.m., we have the Our Illinois Revolution Downstate meeting featuring downstate races with our endorsed candidates. The link is also in the chat. And then the following Tuesday, February 23rd at 7 p.m., we have the Our Revolution Chicago and Cook County meeting. And look for all these links will be in the chat. We have the Will County Progressives have their meeting on Friday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Also Wednesday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. we have the Our Revolution Lake County meeting. And then Saturday, March 6th at 2 p.m., we have the Our Revolution Northern Illinois meeting that Bob was just talking about. So please, check those out. And don't forget to sign up for our next statewide call, which will be Tuesday, March 9th at 7:30 p.m. I'm sure we'll have more endorsements to announce for the upcoming municipal elections. Thank you. Abe, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Georgia. Now, when you become a sustaining member of Our Revolution, you can help continue to support and elect progressive champions. You can join for as little as $5 a month, and the link to sign up is in the chat. So please click that link, help support us. Any amount is fine. It doesn't have to be $5. It could be $4 or even $3. We're grateful for everything because it's all in support of the movement. And so I thank you all, and please become a sustaining member.
Thank you, Abe. And so now we're going to do what we always do when we end our meetings. Everybody, please unmute. All right, is everyone unmuted? So everyone unmute. And let's end with our chant. What's our chant? When we organize,
we win.
Come on, let's coordinate better than that. When we organize,
we win.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you all.
Good night.
Good night.